Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on our Insight 2011 webinar series. Our National Account Manager, Ken Helton, will be presenting today's webinar, Delivering System Studies Faster and More Thoroughly with Core 8. We're happy to answer any questions on or offline, depending on the nature of the question following the presentation. So please type your questions into the chat box, which we will be monitoring during Ken's discussion. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to Ken Helton.
Thanks, Gina, and thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be, like Gina said, this is the first in a series of 9 or 10 webinars over the next few weeks where we'll be going over a variety of subjects centered around our strategic layered approach to model-based systems engineering, strata, our Core 8 systems engineering tool release, and also our Genesis systems engineering tool release. So stay tuned. We'll actually, the next one is scheduled for Thursday afternoon. These will be a little bit shorter in length, a bit faster paced, so we can cover a variety of topics and stay focused on these. And we decided just to provide more webinars in smaller snippets. So as always, feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to dive deeper into a particular subject that we've scratched the surface on in one of these webinars, to get an evaluation of any one of our tools, to go through a private webinar for you and your team, and to discuss or review a particular approach or topic around VITEC and the core software and model-based systems engineering in general. For today's webinar, we're focusing on delivering system studies faster and more thoroughly with Core 8. And I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes and including a little time for questions at the end. So there's a chat feature if you're not familiar with the GoToMeeting webinar format, where you can type in questions. Gina will be monitoring those questions as they come in, and either interrupt me if at an appropriate time presents itself and ask the question, or hold them to the end. And again, feel free to, if we don't get to your question, reach out to us and we'll address it offline. But to begin, what we'll be covering today will be how to get a quick start utilizing a layered approach and the Core 8 tool, and also how to work towards the right solution, how you know you're developing the right solution, and also how you can quickly adjust to change. So I'll go ahead and get started. When you're working in systems engineering, this is probably not new to any of you, but you'll generally be working in these 4 domains. You've got your requirements management, your behavior domain, architecture, and V&V. And being able to work in all of these domains simultaneously, or with an integrated approach in an integrated tool environment, we feel allows you to, we feel it's essential for you to gain insight into your system. And also, we'll talk about, allows you to get a fast start. If you're utilizing the traditional deep dive systems engineering approach, where you have stovepipe tools, one for requirements, you have a drawing package for behavior and domain and architecture and so on and so forth, you're starting to drill down. You can start quickly, but until you start to branch across all of those domains in some integrated fashion, you can't really get an idea of what your system is developing into. Whereas with a layered approach, you begin right away at that top layer, working in requirements, behavior, architecture, and V&V, and very quickly you begin to get an idea at maybe even at a high level of detail. A higher level of decomposition. You're getting an idea at that top layer what your system's really starting to look like, and that allows you to get a quick start. And when you work with core and you apply a layered systems engineering approach like Strata in the core tool, you're able to get into it off to an even quicker start, because with the advanced shall parser, you're able to get documents into the form of requirements very quickly, and then from there, you can start building the design, modeling the behavior of your system right away, very quickly, working in a diagram form by dragging icons onto the screen and building your behavioral diagrams at Thinkspeed. And while doing this, you're also building the underlying data structure that, if you've been familiar with core in the past, that you've known has always existed there. Now we've layered on a visualization capability and a model building capability that's akin to a Visio or another drawing package, where you can just start designing from the diagram point of view as opposed to data structure point of view. So it really helps you to get off to a quick start. And as your model starts developing and you want to know whether or not you're working towards the right solution, the advancements that Core 8 has introduced at the visualization level will really help you to communicate your model early on in the process and get confirmation that between you and your stakeholders and your customers as to whether or not the system is meeting the needs, whether or not it's the right solution. The shot you're looking at now is on the left. You have a standard physical block diagram showing the physical entities and their links, the links between them. In Core 8, you can have that view on the left. You can also toggle and have that the view on the right is of the very same data. You're just able to toggle over to a graphic mode and get more of an OV1 type of diagram or a Visio type of diagram, to where you're seeing the icons that are associated with these data elements as opposed to just the rectangle that represents that data element. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in the visualization and gives you a lot of power in communicating. And then also tying that back to the quick start aspect, to communicate with your stakeholders, you don't have to stop work in your systems engineering tool and go over to a PowerPoint or Visio and create your presentation there separately. You can leverage the work you've done in Core and simply associate icons with those elements and have a powerful visualization tool right there at your fingertips. And when you're in the presentation, if your stakeholder wants to change something within the model, you can note it right there, and it actually changes the data model as well, and you can move forward. New features in Core 8, like adding shapes and notes and other visual aids to your diagrams, have also helped in this regard. The yellow rectangle you see can be moved and stretched and dragged around your diagram to help you to focus the attention on certain parts. You're also able to, on larger, more complex diagrams, you're able to toggle and either have the data hidden. You can have the data in a dotted dashed line form to show that, to emphasize it in a certain way or de-emphasize it in a certain way. And you can also have it disappear altogether, not from the data model. It just disappears from the diagram for the time being until you toggle it, until you unhide it, and it's shown again. So giving you a lot of flexibility on how to draw your customer's attention to the part of the diagram that you want them to focus on at that time. And again, helping you to ensure that you're developing the right solution and to communicate it very well. Along those lines, the physical n-squared diagram is an advancement to allow you to look at different connections and cluster your physical entities in a way that can help you communicate, and also not just help you communicate to your stakeholder, but also help you to gain insight into the system and the interfaces between the different physical elements in your system. The spider diagram is another new representation shown and available in, or that comes with Core 8. You're able to, it just gives you another representation, another way to view your data, allowing you to communicate better, allowing you to gain additional insight. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the Core tool and walk you through some of what I've just shown you on these slides. And here we have a spider diagram. I didn't actually intend to open up to this view, but while we're here, if you're familiar with Core, then this is obviously looks familiar to you, and you'll catch right up. If you're not, I suggest you give us a call if you want to take a full tour of the tool. And we'll take you from the very beginning when you log in and talk more about the structure of the tool and how it allows you to do certain things. But for this little exercise, I'm simply going to walk you through parsing in the document to get started. I'm going to walk you through some visualization aids, and then to touch on the last topic on our agenda, how do you adjust to change? And I'll show you how within an integrated environment, with an integrated tool, how you're quickly and easily able to adjust to change. At this point, I'm opening up the document parser. I've gone into my files to select a Word document to pull in. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a new folder just for this exercise to my requirements class. And I'll select that new folder. I'm also going to select a source document. So all the requirements that I bring in through parsing will then be associated to that particular source document. I'll give it a prefix. And here we go. One of the things this new document parser has done is allowed you to sort of have a human in the loop. What I've done here is parse the document, but it hasn't gone into the data model yet. So you get to go through. If you see here on the left, you have certain checkboxes. Some of these are unchecked because the parser decided that this particular piece of data was debris. And then the shall and will statements were captured here. The system shall identify traffic levels on all highways and thoroughfares. That the parser decided that that was, rightly so, a requirement statement. And so this checkbox is obviously checked. So you can skim through, you can name your requirements here, you can do a little bit of analysis, uncheck the ones that you don't think you need to bring in, and then simply choose to create your requirements. And so that's going to bring these requirements in this matrix and drop them into my parse folder that I created for requirements. So just one of the ways you can really get a quick start with Core 8. So I'm going to go ahead and close this and go over to my parse. And these are the requirements that are brought in. So I can begin working right away and with my shall statements converted to data elements in Core, and I can begin modeling these requirements. And so as simply as going to the component class and beginning, putting a physical context icon there, moving over to my functions class, and beginning to do some some drag and drop type of modeling. I can bring new requirements into my design. I can also select from specific requirements, new functions. I can select specific functions that already exist and just start dragging and dropping with my team around me, building designing the behavior. So we're off to a quick start there. Now, as far as adjusting to change, which is the final topic we will have on the agenda for today, one of the ways that having your data in one integrated tool allows for extensive traceability. And what I mean by that is, in the core tool, you have all your you can list all of your documents here, and my documents are tracing down to the particular requirements that they represent, and so on and so forth. Requirements to functionality, and functions are allocated to components, and so on and so forth. So with core, you have the ability to see this, to visualize this traceability. I'm going to run a traceability query, and this is creating this particular hierarchy diagram. I can choose a different layout to my hierarchy. I can do a hanging or vertical or any number of different types, org chart, horizontal. So you have this type of flexibility with the hierarchy diagrams and your spider diagrams. So here we see our source document. We see our top-level requirements. These requirements are refined or a basis of certain functionality, and traces all the way down to allocated to a command center subsystem. So by developing that entire layer, I can view my traceability across those traditional stovepipes and be able to see from requirements all the way down to components. Now, if I need to adjust a change, it's very straightforward in core. You simply, for instance, if this command center subsystem goes offline, if you need to do some what-if analysis, all you have to do is select the command center, run a behavior impact of physical change query, and that's going to give me this view where I have my command center on top of the hierarchy. Here I can see all the functions that the command center is performing. So therefore, all the functionality that my system is going to lose if this command center goes offline, and all the inputs and outputs between those functions. So that type of impact analysis, adjusting to change, really allows you to get a quick start, know you're working for the right solution, and if you need to adjust on the fly. Now, at this point in the presentation, I'm going to go ahead and I'm on target to stay under my 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and open up to any questions if any have come in, and I'd be happy to address them in the time we have remaining. And while we're pulling any of those questions together, Gina, we also have Brett Malone from Vitech Corporation on the line with us, and I'd like to add if there's anything that Brett if there's anything you'd like to add at this point to add additional insight to the message we've had today, I'd be happy to give you the mic.
Great, thanks, Kenny. I don't want to add too much other than the value of this being able to, drive studies and analysis of alternatives. So looking at cost and risk trade-offs, you can easily use this for providing much more thorough analysis for trade-off studies, particularly as you start to build the early levels of your system. And so it's an excellent approach and an excellent tool to give you better insight into the cost drivers so that you can make adjustments earlier in your program. And we're seeing this used on a regular basis to help reduce the risk in projects earlier on. And I think a lot of the tools that Kenny just showed you really help amplify that message where, you know, gaining greater insight through all these diagrams, being able to correlate what you're doing with the relationships traceability and the requirements traceability. Those are key elements for you to be able to reduce the risk in your projects.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks,
One
Brett.
question that I did see on the chat is asked if you can extend that view that I just showed, that behavior impact of physical change to see what requirements are not being met. And so I'll go ahead and illustrate that. So I'm going to get back to that, back to the hierarchy that we originally had. Select the component, and then go to my behavior impact of physical change, and to my hierarchy definition guide. It allows me to, when you can toggle the less and more button, and it allows me to see the relationships that I want to view. So by selecting the based on relationship, I'm going to go ahead, that will pull the requirements data elements into this particular view. So I'll select OK, and then here we have, once again, our component, the functions, and then the requirements that also are not going to be met. And Gina, if you don't see any other questions that have come in, I believe we'll go ahead and wrap up and invite you to reach out to us if you'd like to take a deeper look at Core 8 or Genesis or talk more about Strata, and invite you all to join us on Thursday on our next installation in the Insight 2011 webinar series. Are there any other questions, Gina?
There are a couple. Some of them I think we will be able to answer offline.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to just show a couple of the graphics, the new graphics features, Kenny?
Okay. One quick way to do that is to simply toggle this particular view and show the icons that are associated by default with each of your diagrams. And so in this, when we start showing icons, I prefer to remove the grid lines and then give us a white background. It seems to the view seems to be a little bit better. So here we have our component icons. Functions are represented by gears, targets for the requirements, and this your I/O inputs and outputs in this fashion. If you want to, by double-clicking on this icon, I can actually set a specific image to be associated with this icon. Close here, and we have these partners icon. and again, you can use your own icons, bitmap libraries. There are roughly 1,000 images that ship with Core 8, but it just gives you that type of flexibility. And we'll be going deeper into that topic on future webinars and in the coming weeks.
Kenny, one more question. Can you
Okay.
query the model for proposed changes?
Absolutely. Well, you can. Yes, you can. One of we have a class for change management. So you have change request packets that are documented here in your change request class, and so you can see you can see any change requests that are being proposed.
Okay.
You can also do additional queries to see what changes have occurred, and you can track changes within each requirement. For instance, typed in the word change here, and this icon comes to life, so you can track what it was before, what I changed it to, and you can restore it back to what it was, and it will track every instance of that, who did it and when.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think everything else we should take offline. So if
Excellent. Well, we're right under our 30-minute target, and again, really appreciate everyone coming online to join us today, and look forward to seeing you again on future webinars. Again, the next one is this Thursday at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much, Kenny.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye.